Hello and welcome to Hysteria in the year 2023. I'm Erin Ryan.
And I'm Alyssa Mastromonaco.
Alyssa, what's in 2023 and what's out?
Well, Erin, what's in and what's out? Okay, you know what's in? Pasta grannies. Do you watch the pasta grannies on YouTube?
No.
Okay, well, let me tell you something. The pasta grannies on YouTube are in, and the chaotic cooking on TikTok and Instagram is out. I cannot watch people smear food on a center island one more time.
Yeah, I saw some people cooking macaroni in a sink, and I was like, absolutely not. And then a few days later, I got a scientist who took a Q-tip and tested how much bacteria is in a sink drain even after it's been cleaned. And I was like, that's why you don't cook macaroni in a sink.
It is an unnecessary fad in every way. And the pasta grannies, Erin, the pasta grannies are like old Italian grannies that make pasta on film. And they have a cookbook and they're so calming and wonderful and a little bit mean.
Okay, that's perfect. I love all those things. My 2023 in, needlepoint. My 2023 out, doom scrolling. Not doing it anymore.
I am with you. I spent a lot of the holidays not doom scrolling, and I caught up on a lot of TV that way.
Alyssa, let's start 2023 on a kind of fun note.
Oh, dare we?
Let's listen.
You are uniquely qualified to understand what it takes to be Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I do.
Does he have it?
But why would I make a judgment about something that may or may not ever happen? No, I don't think he has it, but that's up to his own people to make a decision as to how they want to be led or otherwise.
Okay, so, and I said this was from 2023. Alyssa, I lied. That sound was actually Nancy Pelosi speaking with Dana Bash, and it took place in mid-November of last year. Who are they discussing?
The one, the only. Kevin McCarthy.
I'm just going to go ahead and say Nancy knew. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the fact Nancy knew. So as of Wednesday, I'm sure our listeners are aware, Kevin McCarthy has failed to get the votes to be Speaker of the House. There have been 3 votes as of recording time. By the time you hear this, there will be more. And McCarthy is now further from his goal than he was when it started. At first, 19 Republicans were voting against him. Now, in the most recent caucus, 20 Republicans have voted against him. He can only afford 4 defectors. 20 is more than 4. So this has brought business in Washington to a grinding halt because according to the Constitution, which I'm realizing now had some pretty significant design flaws, other members of Congress can't even be sworn in until a speaker is sworn in. So no congressional business can be done until this is taken care of. Alyssa, is this funny?
Okay, so honestly, is it funny? You kind of. Is it reap what you sow? Definitely. The best part is, as we record, you say right now, Erin, there may not even be votes later. They're trying to stop. They're trying right now. This is such utter chaos that they can't even, he's trying to adjourn the House at noon when they come in so that there doesn't have to be a vote, but he doesn't have enough votes to adjourn.
Oh,
but Erin, do you know my favorite part of all this is that could you imagine finding yourself in this quagmire and having already given away the entire motherfucking store? Let's go through what Kevin McCarthy has bartered away in his deals with several devils.
Okay.
He has agreed to end proxy voting, something that Speaker Pelosi did because of COVID, which was actually very nice and made sense, but that's the least of our issues. He's agreed to create a subcommittee on judiciary to investigate weaponization of the federal government, whatever the actual fuck that means. He is going to set term limits on the ethics committee board, which would mean that all but one Democrat would get kicked off. He wants to conduct, or has agreed to conduct, a church-style, in air quotes, investigation into the FBI and CIA. It gets better. He has promised to put Marjorie Taylor Greene on the oversight committee, one of the most coveted positions in all of Congress, after that numbnuts got scrapped from all of her committees for saying violent and bigoted shit last time. He has promised to look at impeaching the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mayorkas. He has agreed to investigate the January 6th committee for investigating a coup. And he has agreed to a threshold of 5 votes to oust a speaker, literally his own death sentence, to 5 votes. Now he's already got 20 people against him, so I'm not even sure what that good does him. And there are many other things, but the one other thing is so bizarre. He's agreed to adopt something called the Holman Rule, which allows lawmakers to use spending bills, to defund specific programs, fire federal officials, or reduce their pay. Erin, what else can he give the Freedom Caucus to get their votes? It seems like Crazy Town is full. Like, this is it. I don't know what he's got no tricks left up his sleeve. But if it's him or Jim Jordan, I don't know who's worse.
I mean, he really did give the store away for sure. And this
store is empty. He looted his own store.
He looted his own store. But this also reminds me of this really valuable adage for all aspects of life, which is, in your romantic relationships, in your professional relationships, in your friendships, you do not fuck with crazy. You do not fuck with crazy. It's all like, it's like, it starts out all fun, like you're drunk driving a tandem bike back to the hotel in Fort Lauderdale from the Applebee's, which you got kicked out of because you had too many margs. And that's fun. That's like a fun story, if you're fucking with crazy. And then suddenly you piss them off and it's 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve and they're standing outside your parents' house calling you a pussy because you won't go halfsies on some cocaine with them. And you have no idea why they're even in Minnesota,
But they are, because you opened the Pandora's box. You let the crazy in.
Do not let the crazy in, because that is what happens. This also reminds me, the humiliation of Kevin McCarthy, who fully deserves it. Fully deserves it. And he should be put in textbooks in college classes that teach the art of fucking around and finding out, because this is what happens politically. And it's one of the most perfect examples of it I've ever seen. Have you ever been to, so when you go to a wedding with like a traditional wedding ceremony, and there's a part of it where the officiant says, any who object to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Now, in real life, nobody ever speaks up during that time, right?
Right. Not that I've ever seen.
No, same. If I had, it would be like the greatest story of my entire life.
We would have told it 10 times over on this podcast.
We would have told it, exactly. But, in romantic comedies or in high drama, Hollywood productions, there's always someone speaking up. Nobody's ever, during that time. I feel as though Kevin McCarthy is the bride at the wedding. And the officiant is like, he's about ready to be sworn in as speaker. It's all but assumed. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And you got 20 crazy people standing up and being like,
me next.
Oh, now Kevin just wants to cancel the whole wedding.
But he won't.
I told you that story about one time. It was like right before the Trump inauguration in 2017, January 2017. I was in DC I went to a nice steakhouse in DC because I was just like, what else is there to do? I was by myself. And Kevin McCarthy was a couple tables over from me with his wife, I think. Yeah, it must have been his wife. And they were having a nice steak. It was like good steakhouse. DC has like good steakhouses because there's so many unimaginative people who pass through there. Not residents. I'm talking about like the political transient class of people. So he's, good steakhouses. He is drinking a Bud Light.
What?
Okay. When you're at a steakhouse, you don't need to drink red wine. You don't even need to drink alcohol, right? But if you're eating a really great steak and drinking Bud Light, that's like, it's the chicken McNuggets of beers.
100%. 100%. Like he might as well, he might as well just have some Kool-Aid with it. It's like, how could you ruin the flavor more?
I would actually respect Kool-Aid. I'd be like, oh, I wonder what notes that brings out.
He must carry that around with him.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a vibe. But yeah, it's like, I was just like, what? This person has something. I don't trust him. I mean, I never did, but there was something.
After all of his coverage for the last couple of days, I have finally stopped confusing him with Mark Meadows.
Yeah, right. Well, and and I guess this is a great opportunity for us to say congratulations to the new Speaker of the House, George Santos of New York. George Santos, in addition to attending Ivy Leagues, working for Wall Street. Oh, wait, I'm getting word.
No, you're confusing real life with his made up bio.
Well, history books written by George Santos will tell the story of how George Santos was elected Speaker of the House.
While sitting alone in a blue vest on the House floor.
Oh, man, that guy's
not New York's finest moment. The Republicans didn't figure it out, neither did the Democrats.
Nope. Start spreading the news. Okay. I also, here's one thing I want to say, though. Two things. First of all, Matt Gaetz has done, credit where it's due, the first funny thing he's ever done, which
Erin,
is...
Can you read it, please?
Oh, my God. Okay,
just read it.
Let me pull it up. There's a letter sent to a Capitol building architect. So, I don't know, somebody who's in charge of
the architect of the Capitol.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like in charge of office assignments and where different members of Congress work, I'm assuming. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And the building itself, they oversee the whole building. Yeah.
Sure. So J. Brett Blanton, here's the letter. Dear Mr. Blanton, I write to inform you that the Speaker of the House office located in the U.S. Capitol building is currently occupied by Representative Kevin McCarthy. As of this morning, the 117th Congress adjourned sine die. What? Okay. Sine die. I really want a sine die. And a speaker from the 118th Congress has not been elected. After 3 undeciding votes, no member can lay claim to this office. What is the basis in law, House rule, or precedent to allow someone who is placed second in 3 successive speaker elections to occupy the Speaker of the House office? How long will he remain there before he is considered a squatter? Please write back promptly, as it seems Mr. McCarthy can no longer be considered Speaker designate following today's balloting. Sincerely, Matt Gaetz, Member of Congress. First funny thing he has ever done.
And that is legitimately quite funny.
That is legitimately funny. I will say, though, not to throw a bucket of cold water on it, Nancy Pelosi, who, always knows what's up. Pelosi pointed out that there are families waiting to see their family members be sworn into Congress, and they all have to just sit there through the bullshit because their family members cannot be sworn into Congress until Republicans get done slap fighting each other. And some of the people brought like infants, like babies, waited all day on Tuesday for the opportunity to be with their family member as they got sworn into Congress. And Nancy was sort of like, can we just swear the rest of the Congress in so that these families can go home?
Can the kids go home?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's something Nancy and a small handful of other members of Congress would even think to notice. Yeah. So yeah, on one hand, very funny. Good job, Matt Gaetz. It's the only time
we will ever say that. But because we are an honest podcast, credit where credit is due.
Credit where it's due. That was funny. Okay. Kevin McCarthy is really keeping California in the headlines in these last few days for sucking. I just want to point out that he is an example of why Bakersfield sucks specifically, not California.
But not California. California's kind of killing it right now.
Yeah. Can you list a few cool things that are taking effect in the Golden State?
Erin, there are so many. I'll tell you the ones I'm the most excited about. First, so excited that the fur ban is in place. California is the first state to ban the sale and manufacture of fur products. The new law bars Californians from selling or making clothes, shoes, or handbags. Now, there was one part of the rule where I was like, what? Record scratch? Go back?
Yeah, I know where this is. I know what this is because I was the same. I was like, what?
Excludes the sale of dog and cat fur. I was like, excuse me, but that's for taxidermy purposes. In
Okay.
case you lose a beloved and you want to stuff them so you can keep them for forever, that's still acceptable and doesn't
Okay.
count under this ban. What
Okay.
else? Oh, another great one that I did not ever realize could be a problem: the rape kit DNA rights. Under this law, law enforcement agencies are no longer allowed to use DNA collected during rape kit tests for investigation of other crimes. I was like, in what world would anyone do this? But apparently the law exists because in San Francisco, the police department had used DNA collected from a victim of sexual assault to tie that victim to a property crime. So that's a good one.
Oh my God. Why
What
can't
else?
they use some of that creativity to solving rapes instead of prosecuting
backlog.
rape victims? Oh my God.
Which ones do you like? What do you like that California's been up to this year?
The fur ban I thought was good. It bans the sale of like new fur coats. So you can still buy a vintage fur coat.
Right. Which
That
is,
means-
as
that
my
means
Oma
still
would
gonna be
say,
dead.
I gotta be honest. I have some fur coats because my Oma had fur coats. And when she was quite old, she would wear them to the grocery store. And this one woman was like, fur is cruelty. And she's like, this animal's been dead for 70 years. So I was like, oh,
Right.
Germans, they're so funny.
Right. Okay, well, I'm excited about the way that California is protecting abortion and protecting the rights of women and people who seek abortion care in the state of California from prosecution from other states. I think those are called long arm laws, and it just kind of slaps away the long arm of laws in places like, say, Texas, where they're trying to prosecute women from that state who go to other states to receive abortion care. It also abolishes the requirement, this is AB 2223, is the law I'm talking about. It also abolishes the requirement that coroners investigate stillbirths, and it protects someone who helps a pregnant woman end their pregnancy voluntarily from criminal or civil liability. So that's pretty cool. I'm into that. I'm also into a similarly structured law that aims to protect trans youth. The bill is designed to aid children from other states in coming to California for sex change procedures and treatment. It would stop states like Texas and Florida from removing children from parents who elect to put them through gender-affirming healthcare. And the language in the law is medically necessary healthcare that respects the gender identity of the patient as experienced and defined by the patient. The law also blocks out-of-state subpoenas, and it prevents health providers from sharing information with out-of-state entities. And it also gives California courts the ability to make child custody decisions if the child is in California for the purpose of receiving gender-affirming healthcare. All that's good.
All good. Great stuff.
Yeah, it sucks that the law has to exist, but I'm glad that it does.
New York did one good thing over the holidays.
What?
No more puppy mills here.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Can't sell puppies.
Oh, so does that mean that store that's on 8th Avenue and like 14th Street with puppies in the window?
Probably will not be there anymore. Yeah.
Oh, this would be my favorite thing to look at when I was walking to work, when I worked over by Chelsea Pierce, but that's an insidery conversation. We have an update from one of the last things we talked about at the end of 2022. There was an arrest in the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students that were found in a home in November. We had been talking about how it seemed like the police didn't know what was going on. This case has gone from being something that was like, oh my God, horrifying, to something that's like, oh God, this is going to be true crime fodder for like decades.
It was so disappointing almost to see that this guy was pursuing a PhD in criminology.
I know.
Ew.
How many movies about him are we going to have to endure? Like that kind of, yeah.
So
28-year-old Brian Koberger was arrested 6 weeks after the killings in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. He waived extradition, so he's heading back to Idaho. We don't know very much more about the case because I guess under Idaho law, there's some rules governing what information they're allowed to release until the person's first court appearance. So we're not going to know anything. All I'm learning are completely irresponsible takes I'm seeing on TikTok, and I have had to stop watching them because I'm like, What the fuck what are you talking about?
Wait,
none
what
of you
was
know
it? Wait, hold on. What can be an irresponsible take about a PhD in criminology murdering 6 people?
I think that like the interviews with his classmates where news outlets try to piece together a motive, like we don't know anything about the motive. And I don't really like, there've been these imposter Instagram accounts that have popped up with his name, and the imposter accounts have been like following the murder victims, and there are people on TikTok reporting that as though the imposter accounts were really him. It's
that is crazy.
Yeah, it's a real maelstrom of disinfo, speculation, and rumor. And as frustrating as it is if you cared about the case or you cared about the safety of the community, as frustrating as it is to like wait until you get information, it's just like you have to. Everything else is just
we do. Though I will say, I mean, I specifically think I was probably hard on the Moscow, Idaho Police Department. Makes a little bit more sense now why it was hard for them to suss out who this, like, one, they may have been gathering the clues. Like, they found this person who seems quite complicated to have been found. So, maybe they weren't as asleep at the wheel as I thought they were.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they were, Kohlberger was apprehended by Pennsylvania State Police, though. So they were the ones that actually.
But that's where they found him. That's not who figured out it was him, though.
Yeah. I guess we'll learn more.
Who knows? 2 armchair experts. We will.
2 armchair experts. I'm glad, I read that after the murders took place, a lot of the students at the college in town in Moscow went home because they were so scared.
I would have. Jesus.
Yeah. And I hope that, as horrifying as it is to think of this being just a guy who just picked these people out at random, I hope that the community can feel a little bit safer now.
Yeah, I agree.
Because what a scary time to live through in that town.